forgiveness, I think, is so simple, yet we make it too complicated.
I cannot focus on Tommy or how he is changing. I can focus on me, how I'm changing. And through our marriage, are we displaying that? Are we showing those fruits?
In our previous relationships, I think there were really, really one common denominator that was missing. And it's really staying true to God's principles. The lesson in relationship has more to do with being Christ-like and learning the principle of being in a relationship through God, being in the center of your relationship, as opposed to the marriage itself.
Yeah. Well, I want to welcome you to this episode of the God Seeker Podcast. My name is Joe Martin Jr., and it's a pleasure and an honor to have you tuning in with us today. I have two special guests today with me, Tommy and Lety Diwa. It's so great to have you guys here. Thank you so much for being a part of this.
Thank you, Pastor Joe.
I always like to get started with just a little bio so people kind of get the kind of context of, you know, who you are and where you're from. So
Sure.
Tommy and Lety Diwa are the founders and owners of Diwa Kitchen, a Dallas-based culinary company built on a simple conviction: eat good, do good.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
A portion of every sale supports Fulfilled Project, the nonprofit they helped to establish to feed food insecure children across Dallas-Fort Worth. Beyond the kitchen, they lead a marriage small group and mentoring group at Trinity Dallas, and they have a deep passion for mentoring couples. Welcome to the God Seeker Podcast.
Thank you.
Glad you guys are here.
Excited to be here, Pastor
Yeah.
Joe.
Excited to be here.
Fantastic to have you here. We want to talk today. I mean, this podcast, we hit a range of stuff we talk about, over the last, I think this episode 74. And we talk a lot of different projects and issues and things that go on. But today I want to kind of dedicate this podcast to really relationships and talk about relationships a little bit. And so I'd just like to get started with you and Tommy just kind of sharing really just a little bit about how you two got together and how that's made you good mentors for others in their relationship.
Okay. Well, do we have a full day to discuss that?
Yeah, exactly.
You want to get started, honey? Because you're really good at describing how we...
Okay, so how we met back in 2011. And it's very interesting because right now we are about to start game 1 of the NBA Finals today.
That is correct.
Okay, so when we met in 2011, it was also during the NBA Finals, and our first date was to go to a bar to go watch the final game where Dallas Mavericks took the championship.
Yeah,
that
Yes.
was our first date.
Yes.
So we met online, and it's our second marriage. So we're a blended family. We got married in 2012. So it'll be 14 years this year
That's
of
correct.
marriage.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
Great. And so you guys met and fell in love and got married within a year of knowing each other.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The following year.
Yeah.
One important aspect, though, about that meeting with Lety, both of us have been in numerous situations with, the dating scene at that point, trying different apps that were out there. That was the time
that's
when
right.
that was the time when all of these new apps came out of many woodworks, such as Match.com, Chemistry.com, all that.
Yeah, all those are 10, 12 years ago
Right.
starting, right? Yeah.
Yes. And so I in particular, I can't speak for Lety, and maybe she'll talk about this in a little bit, where I was to a point where I was ready to give up dating. Now, there's a difference between, when you're ready to really be in a serious relationship, when you're, pursuing someone, whether you meet them at, casually at the bar, or you're actually going into these dating sites to kind of try it out because you're just curious. We're to a point where I thought I was ready to be in a really serious relationship 3 years prior to meeting Lety. And so that was a point where that year I was just giving up on the the apps, the matchmaking sites or whatever. And this
why were you ready to give up on it?
Because it was a not only difficult process to meet people online. They write these long drawn biography about who they are, what they do, what they expect, and yet they show up and they're totally different people.
Yeah.
And so you're not really confident in your approach and meeting someone. You're afraid to.
Now both of you are very committed believers.
Yes.
Yes.
Were you at the time when you were you seeking God at the time of
Yes.
So you didn't see any kind of biblical issue about meeting someone online. You never had an issue like that.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
For one, there is a criteria online where most of these sites will tell you whether, the person you're about to go on a date with is a Christian themselves or not. And so that was one of the major criteria Lety and I actually predicated our very important value is based on Christianity. Are they strong
Faith.
Christian? Are they strong believers? If not, just attending church and so on and so forth. And so when this app came up, it was a promotional app called howaboutwe.com, which is a very friendly type of app where your approach is, how about we attend a baseball game? How about we go to a quick coffee, something quick.
Simple.
And so it was really, simple to just join and not being pressured, right, to go on a date. And so Lety's profile came up, and describe how that came along, honey. How both of our expectations were the same.
So I had five questions on a scale bar. One of them was, how important is faith to you on a scale from 0 to 10? We both had 10.
Yes.
And another one was health and fitness.
Habits, yeah.
We both had 10.
Smoking,
do we smoke?
drinking,
We both had 0. Do you drink socially? What was the fifth one? Anyway, so we matched on that. And then it asked like 2 or 3 very simple questions. Like, what would your mom say about you? Or what is the most important thing to you right now? And his was put God first at the center of every relationship. That's what caught my attention about him. And that's what made me feel comfortable.
Wasn't it about the every sinner?
No, that was his Facebook profile.
Oh, okay. Never.
Had a tagline, every sinner has a past. And no. Every sinner has a future and every saint has a past.
That's correct.
Yeah. So that told me a lot about his character and who he is. So,
and that's the thing, because a lot of people will make a big deal out of being a Christian, but when you actually meet them,
you're right.
They're ready to sleep around. They're ready. Exactly right.
Yes.
And so,
and we made it clear from the beginning where we stood on that, and we both said that is not something we want to do.
Even though both of you have been married before.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. That was one thing that, in fact, sealed the deal for me with Lety, because she made a point of that. That was really very valuable and very important to her, that she will not move on a next date unless the guy that she would start dating with did not agree with that. And so that was really a big sell for me when I met her.
Had him sign a contract, Pastor Joe.
Tell me about that.
We did sign a contract. We did sign a contract.
And we framed them and we put them on our nightstands as a reminder.
Oh, wow.
To this day, we still have that.
Yeah, we still have them.
And what did the contract say?
Very simple, to basically describing that we will honor God's principle on waiting until you're married before you
have sex.
Yes. Very simple.
Yeah. Awesome. And how do you think that impacted the relationship? Did it make you want to get married faster? Did it, I mean, when you've had a failed marriage, so you have a little bit different perspective on getting married, right?
Yes.
So if you've never been married before, you don't really know. Marriage is one of those things, it's very hard to tell somebody about it until they've actually done it.
Yes.
Right? I mean,
absolutely.
Amen.
Nancy and I have been married for 43 years. I mean, we've been married a long time.
Yes.
And, 41 years. And so we've been married a long time. And it's just no way to describe the way that we've changed over those years, because of the proximity we have with one another, and sharing the same life, same kids, same family, same
Sure.
job.
Sure. Yeah.
And so, so trying to describe what marriage is like is really hard to do. But if you've been through a failed marriage,
Yes.
what's your mindset coming out of it? You're kind of giving it now. Hey, we have some absolutes
Yes.
that we're going to set these boundaries, and they're absolute with us. Am I saying too much, or is that exactly what you did?
exactly
No,
it.
you're right around that ballpark. I think for us, and again, Lety can attest to this too, is in our previous relationships, I think there were really, really one common denominator that was missing.
Mhm.
And it's really staying true to God's principles.
Mhm.
And because, there are different layers in relationships, not even marriage, right? In relationships, there's different layers that will come challenge you on a daily basis, right?
Yeah.
Prior to being married, obviously, Lety and I have had many debates and arguments and challenges, and we had to kind of settle the score, so to speak, before we got married. Whether or not those are
vigorous
important.
discussions is what I call those.
Yes. And we're not even talking about intentional, negative thoughts about what happens when you don't know the person. I mean, they say it takes 7 years to even really get on the surface and get to know an individual, let alone getting to know your own wife or husband, right? And so with Lety, I mean, I remember having a conversation the first few weeks. We talked about family values. How do we, she had a daughter who I ended up adopting, right? Not literally. And so we had talked about that. How do we discipline her together? Giving me permission to taking charge as being her father. And that was a big deal for me. And most men may, shy away from that. I embraced it. And so we were always on the same page on that. And now she's married, and now I have a son-in-law. We've grown our family, our son. We really call him a son, right? And so I think just moving forward from our first, you called it failure. We call it really a really enormous lesson that we've learned from that experience. And these are not 1 or 2 or 3 year marriages. These are over 10 years of marriages that we've, previously. And so we're able to apply that. But more importantly, this is really hard to explain, Pastor Joe. Maybe you can give us some thoughts around this, where you can't explain how when God is centered in your relationship, in your marriage, you just get that wisdom. I call it spanking from the Lord when you're ready to give up. I mean, even most marriages, any individual who said that they don't think about giving up in their relationships or marriages, they're lying. They're lying.
Yeah. That's true, isn't it? I think that's true. I mean, if that thought never went across you're either dead or you're lying. One or the other, right?
It's a tug, right? It's a tug.
Yeah.
And so, our major, we share this with our small groups. Most of our major disagreements are different rounds. Like in boxing, there's different rounds through 16. And our secret, I think, my wife and I, our secret is we're willing to go the entire round. And we let the judge, God is our judge, is to score it as a draw. Because nobody wins in any debates or arguments.
Well, we do win. We win wisdom, because from every argument we have, you do reflect. In the moment you're arguing, you want to win. But after, you do reflect, like, you know what? He's right. I could have been a little more gracious. I could have been a little more patient, or I could have been a little more thoughtful. So it's about that. But going back to why it didn't work the first time versus why we really feel like it is working now, and we try to teach everyone that we mentor this principle, it's simple. It's alignment. our first marriage, we were not in alignment. We were not going to God for all the answers. We wanted to solve without the power of God, right? So we wanted to be the fixers. We wanted to, we had a lot of pride going in, and so all of those things have to be. I was a runner, so if there's something I don't like about you, I'm not going to fight, but I will run. So I've learned with Tommy, I cannot run. I don't want to run. I want to fight, and I want to come out better on the other side, So I think that is the difference, the alignment with God first, then the husband, then the wife, then the children. And that is something that we feel very strongly about and that we do teach in our small groups.
Well, that just you're talking now, the point you're making now is really important to me, because I think one of the things that is kind of elusive is what is a win in a relationship. Why do we put up with this? I mean, why do we choose to lock on to someone for the rest of our life rather than just what's the win? Yes. And because I think there's a lot, particularly the Gen Zers and the Gen Xers have seen their parents' failed marriages, and and out there thinking, what's the use?
Yes.
So what's the win?
So to determine a win, you have to identify what is the purpose of marriage, right? So a lot of times we ask, our new couples, what do you think is the purpose of marriage? A lot of them will say, to make each other happy,
right,
to not be lonely, to have a companion, to have a forever date, to have children, to be a parent.
And all those are true.
All those are true, but that is not
that's checking the box.
That's checking boxes. That is not the main purpose. The main purpose is to reflect God's image through your marriage. So what are those? What does God look like? Well, God is a loving God. He's a patient God. He's a forgiving God. So I win when I can become better at those fruits.
Yeah.
Of the Spirit. So if I display more, I cannot focus on Tommy or how he is changing. I can focus on me, how I'm changing. And through our marriage, are we displaying that? Are we showing those fruits?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, somebody told me like this years ago, and I've just remembered it, marriage is not about making you happy.
No.
Marriage is about making you holy.
Yes.
Correct.
And that once you have aligned yourself with God and gotten in the process of becoming Christ-like, then there's a win there. There's you're becoming more like Jesus. And as you become more like, you have more forgiveness for people, more grace for people, so that doing life together is meaningful.
Right.
Because you're changing, they're changing, and they're changing for the better.
That's right.
Yeah.
And our church really taught us the big word of sanctification in our marriage. For instance, it's really important to understand what that means. And again, Lety mentioned that she's not responsible for my own joyfulness, and vice versa. And so, what does that mean, sanctification? There are oftentimes, Lety and I, we're nowhere near mastering that at all. I think sanctification is until the end.
Yes.
And so, when there's an end goal, you have that ability to think about what that end goal is. You may not know what the end goal is, but at least there's hope, and there's also looking forward to what that is, and that can be really applied to our everyday commitment, and everyday could be even disagreements. For instance, it's a lesson that you must apply using that sanctification principle. I can give you an example, if I may.
Yeah.
This morning.
As in today.
As in today.
I think God planted this because God knew that we will be here with our pastor. And so really important in that. So I'm trying to gather my thoughts so I can really keep this short and not make it a 10-minute story on what happened. And so in our household, the way we park our vehicles is a little tricky because of where we live. We live in the city, and so it's hard to really navigate around not blocking my wife's vehicle if I park in front of her. And so I have a way of parking my vehicle in a kitty corner where she'll be able to leave and just get out. So as you know, I'm an early riser, and I go to the gym, and so I prepare my stuff, my gym bag, my protein, and my water jug, and my ear pods, and all that. And so I have them all set in my console, ready to go. And so my
Inside
wife
the car.
inside the vehicle. And so this morning, my wife suddenly calls me out of the blue as I'm still at home in my office, and she said, "Hey, honey, I took your car." And I said, "Why did you take my car? It's much easier for you to get out with your own vehicle." And she said, "I don't know. I wasn't thinking. I just took it. And I left my phone." And in addition to leaving my phone at home, she said that you're going to, if you don't mind switching with me, because I know you need to leave. And so long story short, I went to the vet and switched vehicles with her. And as I switched vehicles with her, I noticed that I'm missing all my stuff in that car.
Yeah.
He had already placed them in the car.
Yeah.
I thought I was being thoughtful by removing them,
And putting them in the other car.
putting them
But not
in,
just another car. Go ahead, honey. Tell me.
on
On.
the trunk.
Yeah.
The
Oh,
trunk.
I see.
On top of the
I thought
car.
he would
Yeah.
see it.
Yeah.
And so anyway, you can probably imagine what goes on after that. But here's why I'm sharing this story. Typically, I would have a total blow up.
Yeah.
And I would lose it because there's just no explanation why my lovely wife would even dare do that.
Yeah.
She would not in a million years would take my car. That is so hard to navigate around that little area. I don't know why she would even do that this morning.
Yeah.
And so when I left the place she was at, I just said 3 words. I said, "Oh my goodness," and I left.
Yeah.
As soon as I leave, I sought counsel, and I said, "I'm gonna call Pastor." And I dialed Pastor Joe, and Pastor Joe was not available, so Pastor Robert answered, because I wanted to kind of vent and share this very, very important moment.
All right.
It's important. Here's why. Because typically I will blow up.
Yeah.
But this time I chose to step away and let things simmer.
You made a choice.
I made a choice. And what I found out about that is very important. And we've been married 14 years now. It is the very first time I've done that. I mean, I've walked away in the past, sat in my office and talked to God about it. But this time I literally intentionally let things simmer, because I said, Satan, you're not winning today.
Yeah.
You're not going to trigger me and then say the wrong things to my wife. And because typically, and I had told Pastor Robert, this is very important. I said, when we have arguments and the human flesh kicks in and takes over, I will typically say things that I don't really mean. It's just in the heat of the moment.
Yes. And you regret saying afterwards.
Absolutely. And then when you say, what happens? I gave him the percentage. I said, typically what happens is 98% or even 99% of the time I feel bad. 1% of the time I feel good because I was able to release them.
Yeah.
But this moment, today, that was the total reverse. 99%, I felt really good because I stayed quiet and let things simmer. And 1%, I felt like, why didn't I say something to my wife? Yeah. But see the numbers? 99%, I felt like that was really a monumental moment for me.
One of the things that we try to live by, or at least I try to live by, is that it's only a big deal if you make it a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. The thing that makes us human is that we have a choice of how to respond.
Right.
We're not animals. Mm-hmm. We don't respond on instinct.
Right.
The instinct is to get mad and to have a fussing, fighting, cussing fight.
Yes.
That's the instinct.
Yes.
But because we're Christians and we're set apart for God, that's sanctification again. Mm-hmm. Then we can make a choice.
Right.
And we can choose how we're going to respond.
Correct.
And to me, this is the mark of maturity, is your ability in the moment to choose, being righteous rather than being right.
That's right.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and that's to me that's a big relational skill.
And there is a partnership in that. And I'm not going to take full credit for acting this way today. My wife has been planting this seed in my mind. Maybe not maybe. I know for a fact she prays. Because whenever we fight, she goes in the bathroom and prays. So I know for a fact she's been praying about this and planting the seed in doing so. Like you said, don't use that animal instinct. Use the Christian instinct.
That's right.
Right? And so I'm sure she's been mentioning this to me. She says, honey, it's not a big deal. And it's true. It's not a big deal because I told Pastor Robert, I said, I've lost my Apple Beats. I've lost my sunglasses, which I love.
Yeah.
But you can always replace those material things. You can never replace a lovely wife.
That's right.
Isn't that wonderful?
Oh, thank you, honey.
Great lesson today. Great lesson.
Yeah, and that's where the rubber meets the road. Those kind of situations come up, they kind of happen.
Right.
It's never something you anticipate that throws you off track. It's something you didn't anticipate that throws you off track. I mean, you come in happy and you say something you think will make your spouse happy, and you say it, and it does just the opposite.
Absolutely.
Because they're looking at it from a different direction than you were looking at it. And so how you respond in that moment is really a mark of your maturity, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And so as mature believers, we have a new creation reality. We don't have to operate on instinct. We can operate on choice.
Amen to that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I think that's a big important thing. So we've sort of established here what a successful relationship is among Christians. It's is that we submit to the process of becoming Christ-like. Right. The way you responded today was more Christ-like than you would have responded a year ago.
Right.
You're making progress.
Yeah. You mean 2 days ago?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yes.
So you're making progress. So Christ-likeness is the goal, is the purpose, is what we're looking for when we talk about a successful relationship, a meaningful relationship.
Absolutely.
Okay. So what does it take? What are some of the qualities? We talked about this before we started filming. What are some of the qualities really for successful relationships, for meeting that purpose? You talked about commitment. You talked about intentionality, forgiveness, focus. Let's discuss some of those things.
Yeah, the first thing that comes to mind, when you're most of your friends will tell you, you need to meet Mr. Right. You need to meet Miss Universe. And you have this picture in your mind that is the person you want in your life. And then you add little spice of character here and there, and they're perfection. And I think you're looking for a Mr. or Mrs. AI, right?
Right. Yeah,
and
exactly.
they don't exist.
That's
right. And so, Lety and I, we were discussing this over the weekend. Is expect the least likely person you're going to be with, and how do you expect that? God already has that planned. And path is already paved for you. It's just a matter of waiting for that moment. And the least likely meaning that if you see someone and they're literally in front of you and you ignore
I would never go for that type. That would not be my pick.
Yes, you might be missing out.
Yeah.
It happened with us. In fact, I grew up here in Dallas in the Oak Cliff neighborhood, and I never met a Filipino person in my life in that neighborhood.
Yes.
So the fact that I'm married to a Filipino, that is, you're the least likely.
It is least likely because one time we had, those globe that you used to have in your office, you can spin it.
Yeah.
Big ones.
Oh, yeah.
One time, Letty and I looked at that. I grew up in a very tiny village. It's called San Fernando in the Philippines. And then if you look at that across, look at the continent, it's totally different. All the way around. All the way around. That's where Letty is, in a small town.
Complete opposite.
Yeah, in Mexico. Where she is. It's incredible.
Yeah, opposite hemisphere, opposite everything.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Opposite minds.
Yeah.
Yes.
Everything.
Everything. And it works.
Yeah. Yeah. The least likely.
At least. Like,
Because I think what happens is, we think we're marrying. Here's the thing God does. I think. We think we're marrying somebody that we're totally compatible with.
there you go.
Yes.
Until we say, I do.
Right?
That's when you find out maybe you don't think just alike. Maybe you don't see things like, maybe your value system is not just alike.
Yes.
And so that's what brings about the Christ likeness. When we see something that we're not familiar with, or we're not comfortable with, or we're not happy with, how are we going to respond to that?
That is
Because I think that one of the second things I think is really important in a relationship is that, there's so many unmet expectations. You expect your spouse, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your husband, you expect him to be this way, and you find out he's really another way.
absolutely. Absolutely.
And so you have these unmet expectations that really can ruin a relationship.
Oh, yes.
They can just ruin it because you keep beating your head up against the wall thinking this person's going to start responding differently, and they don't.
Yes.
So what I try to say is this: instead of having the expectation on the other person,
Right.
why don't you move it to you? What is the expectation of how I'm going to respond? Okay, I'm going to be Christ-like no matter what. I'm going to be at peace no matter what. I'm going to forgive no matter what. That's my expectation. You may not like that, or you may not see it, or you may not understand. But I'm not trying to please you. I want to be clear on what I need to be.
You said a statement about that the other day. Pastor Joe himself told me this, and it really got ingrained in my brain. You cannot change someone, let alone trying to change them overnight. But you have the ability to change yourself.
Yes.
That's right.
And that's what you're saying,
Yeah.
basically, right?
Yes.
Because in our minds, it doesn't matter where you are. Our human tendency is to try to change people,
That's right.
especially us men when we drive.
Yeah.
Why do we get triggered? Because we're offended by someone because we feel like we need to teach them a lesson or change them.
Yeah,
And that is not possible. We
Yeah.
can even change our own children.
Yeah.
And
That's
so,
right.
And so, that there's, that's such a true statement. No question.
Yeah. So having the right expectation is really pretty important.
Right.
You also talked about intentionality. What does that mean? Intentionality. I mean, these are things that you are mentoring others in, right?
Right.
And so when you're mentoring others, what do you try to say about intentionality?
You have to choose to love each other each day.
Be
Or
intentional about it.
be intentional. You have to be intentional. And it goes back to our relationship with Christ, right? The first commandment. I choose to love you every day, even though you've really upset me or I don't agree with some things. But you have to choose, and you have to keep going forward. You cannot just give up. And then you have to choose also to focus on. Sure, there's annoying traits. We can sit here and talk for 10, 15 minutes about what annoys us about each other. But if we sit here and focus on that, we're going to miss out on the goodness.
Well, that's an important concept. What are you focusing on? The
Yeah.
negative or the positive?
That's right.
Focus on the greatness. You know what? He's got, I told someone the other day, she was really, and this is a serious matter, she was really considering separating over a small issue that we've had fights over bigger issues than that. In our opinion, it was a very small issue that was fixable. And so we kind of told her, we said, well, if focus on the good, he what do you love about him? He's a great dad. He's got a job. He's a professional. He loves his community, loves his family, loves his church. Sure, those other little things, but are they fixable? Can you work with that? Can he seek help for that? But I think we immediately go to the red and want to tap out and get out. So that's one of the things that we try to teach others.
So being intentional really is important when you talk about commitment to one another.
Yes.
Yeah. You also talked about the importance of forgiveness. How
Very
important. Yeah. And how do you I mean, how do you, what does it mean to forgive somebody? I know that's a simple question, but how do you really forgive somebody? Particularly when you've been betrayed,
Right.
you've been desperately hurt. How do you handle that?
I used to describe forgiveness as a little boy, as a little child just playing on the streets where you get really offended or you start fighting with your childhood friends and you take a shower and then it's gone. That anger, that angst is gone for whatever reason. Well, we can't do that as adults.
Yeah.
I think we have to really inspect our hearts, meaning wash our hearts as God forgives us. And I know
Yes.
that's such an easy way to just say it because it's really harder to do. And so forgiveness, I think, is so simple, yet we make it too complicated. We think there's different layers of it that we have to go through it.
I'll forgive you for this, but not for that.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm going to let this go, but I'll never let this go.
Right. I think it should be 100%, right? Unconditional.
Yeah.
You need to forgive. You must forgive. What do you think?
I think that brings me to one other issue is that everybody needs somebody.
Mm-hmm.
You need somebody in your life. See, I don't think that, when we get into some of these desperate relational situations, I don't really trust myself making Christ-like decisions, making actions, Christ-like actions.
Okay.
And so it's good for me to be around you so that I can bounce off of you how I'm feeling about that.
That's right.
And so everybody needs somebody in their life that they can bounce things off of. This morning you called Robert.
Yes.
You and let me bounce this off of you.
Yes.
And so everybody needs somebody in their life. And this is the tragedy about living in a modern urban society. We're surrounded by people, but we're lonely. We don't have anybody we can talk to.
100%.
This is why it's so important to be a part of a church family.
That's right.
So you have somebody to talk to.
Absolutely.
You have somebody to be with. Everybody needs somebody in their life that they can talk to, that they can bounce things off of, that they can mediate issues in their own heart about. And, so that they can get someone to pray for them, encourage them, instruct them, help them, pick them up, cry with them, laugh with them.
Right.
All the things, yes.
You just need somebody in your life. Do you guys have that?
Yes, we do. We're looking at that person right now.
Yeah.
I think, Pastor Joe, truthfully, I think the word is accountability, right?
Yeah.
And we are easily offended nowadays in the modern society, right? We think it is okay to lean on our friends. And our friends for a reason. They don't want to upset us sometimes. And they don't necessarily want to hold us accountable because, for one, they may not even know what that means.
Right.
And so, there's a reason why we have parents. There's a reason why we were parented is because we were put into that type of teachings. Well, most people don't have that. They may not have that. They may not even know what that means. But I think it's really important to have a pastoral care, somebody from your church who you can count on to hold you accountable. Because without accountability, as they say, bad habits are really hard to break. And so you're just going to put Band-Aid on your bad decisions that you've made, and your friends are going to make excuses for you to make you feel good about it.
And we're very careful when it comes to this. We always want to make it clear, not just anybody. They have to be someone that's going to point you back to the Lord.
Right.
Somebody you listen to.
Someone,
right?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
And someone that loves you enough to tell you the truth. Because sometimes we don't want to hear the truth. We want to hear, we want them to cuddle us, but that's not always what we need.
Yeah.
We need someone that's going to hold us
You don't need
accountable.
somebody saying, "Oh yeah, he is a jerk."
Yes.
You know, you don't need somebody leading you down that what you're already struggling with.
I already know that.
Right.
Tell me.
Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly.
Totally different. Yes.
No.
You need somebody to say, what are you focused on?
Yeah.
You need somebody to say, what have you been intentional about? Where are your expectations? I mean, all
Yes.
those things.
You just have to really choose the right encouragement.
Yeah.
And it should never be family, ever.
Yes.
Why you say that?
Because families have a special love for their loved ones.
Yeah.
And then, like, if I go to my sister and well, she won't do that. She's not like that. But she could be, right? If I go and I tell her all the dirty laundry on Tommy, Tommy and I are going to make up and be good tomorrow. But
She's still going to be offended.
She's going to be offended for me.
right.
So, it's just because.
We call it a third party
Yes.
offense.
There you go.
Tommy and I get upset with each other. We're in a fight. So he comes and tells you about the fight. The next day, Tommy and I get back together. We're okay now. We're buddies now. But you're still
I'm offended.
upset. You're still ready to fight.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And so you got to stay away from that.
That's right.
Yeah.
So never family.
Yeah.
Never family.
Yeah. So when you're mentoring someone through a relationship, whether it be a dating relationship or a marriage relationship, where do you like to start? And how do you, what's kind of the process? Do you have something nailed down? What do you do?
Just natural.
Well, there's really not a process. I think also our small group that we mentor, the group that are in our, I don't even know how many couples we have now. They've grown so much. A house full for sure.
Yeah.
They're just in different stages of life.
Mm-hmm.
They're in different stages of careers.
Mm-hmm.
And, our day-to-day things, they do get in the way.
Yeah.
And so, we do application based on what we learn from our studies. I mean, we don't forget to apply those things on the daily grind that they will encounter. For the most part, most of the couples that we're meeting with on every Friday, they don't have what you call major obstacles. Would you say they have major obstacles that they encounter?
Well,
If they do,
everything is fixable, right?
Right.
Everything.
Ultimately.
Ultimately.
Yeah. I mean, in
Yeah.
heaven, it'll all be straightened out.
that's right.
Right.
To them, it seems major, right? But because that's another thing, because we have been through so much in our own marriage and we have seen it, we are able to discern like, oh, well, this just needs a little bit of this and they'll be fine.
Mm-hmm.
They'll be okay. But typically the way it works is we go through our studies, we pick topics, we let them choose topics that they want to discuss. And if they have something outside of their group that is going on, something major in their lives that they need extra counsel, they feel they're very open with us and they will come to us in private and ask for special time outside of our group time. And they'll seek
Yeah.
guidance.
And speak to how important confidentiality is.
Extremely.
Because
I think
it's
you lose trust.
trust is based on confidentiality, right? If you can keep this to yourself without sharing it with others, then I trust you to share more. I'll share more.
Correct.
But if you're out there telling everybody my business, I'm not going to share anything with you.
Yeah, we believe, Lety and I, even outside of our small group, if somebody comes to us, we will not divulge names. We feel like we are the principal's office of God. God appoints us as vessels to obviously help relationships blossom. And so because God knows we're not perfect ourselves, we learn every day as well. And I think that, what I was really want to say about as far as the mentorship and things like that, most couples that we deal with don't necessarily tell you everything that goes on in their households. And so our rule is outside of physical, verbal, and sexual abuse, everything could be worked out.
Yeah.
Everything, and that's biblical. We know that. And so that is Letty and I, we really follow that principle. And so we tell them, tell us everything that happens from beginning to end, and let's discuss it. And for the most part, wouldn't you say 99% of the time, they will progress.
Yeah.
100.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Meaning 99%, I say that because 1% of the time, either the gentleman or the gal are stubborn for a moment.
It takes them a little while sometimes.
But that happens. Yeah. It's called pride.
Yeah.
It's called pride.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's important
to
I think to really consider that, because, and we say this all the time, and a friend of mine mentioned this the other day. He said, what about those parents, couples that have been married 50, 60 years, but they're miserable? And my question is, how do you define miserable? Because miserable means that, again, going back to outside of any abuse in the relationship, challenges are meant to happen in a relationship, because, again, we're going back to the purpose of sanctification. The lesson in relationship has more to do with being Christ-like and learning the principle of being in a relationship through God, being in the center of your relationship, as opposed to the marriage itself.
Yeah.
There's more meaning to it.
Right.
Because now you're growing based on those experiences and lessons that you're learning from that relationship. And sometimes we are so stuck in being with an individual and thinking that this person is doing this to me. This person is really making me unhappy. This person is someone that I never expected to live with in the way I live. That's not marriage. That's called being petty. That's called being judgmental. That's being finding happiness somewhere else where you'll never be happy. And so try to concentrate, like you said, Pastor Joe, try to concentrate and focus in on changing your habits and changing yourself, and ask yourself, why are you continuing to feel unhappy and miserable in your life, or feel inadequate in some areas of your life?
Is my attitude Christ-like?
There you go.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Are my actions Christ-like?
Right.
Is this what Jesus would do?
Right.
Okay,
we
that's
need those
the
bracelets
first.
again.
Yeah, WWJD, right?
Right.
Yeah, and so it's not only just what would Jesus do, but how would I want to be treated?
Right.
That's the way I'm going to treat you.
Yes.
And so it goes back to stuff we learned in kindergarten.
Basic principles.
Treat other people like you want to be treated. Don't steal people's crayons.
Don't bite.
Yeah,
Johnny.
That's right. Don't pull hair.
Absolutely.
Stop all that.
Absolutely.
What do you do when somebody is in a situation that can't be fixed?
When you say can't be fixed, in that statement alone, what does that mean? Can't be fixed, meaning they because they refuse to fix it themselves, or they're just stubborn. Are they going through an affair? What does that mean? So it depends on their circumstance.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
So in that example, what do you mean?
Yeah, I mean, I just think, when we think about adultery, of course it can be,
It can be fixed. It can be fixed.
Can be fixed, but both parties have to want to fix it.
Yes.
What if one refuses? Then what do you say to people?
In that case, we've had this, right? We've had that instances with other people that we've talked to. It was such a really eye-opener, but at the same time very challenging. The answer there is only time could really fix it.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're willing to let time, part of the process, let time in that process, it will heal. Because nobody could rush somebody's healing. Mm-hmm. Say, any counselor could say, this is the reason why you're feeling this way. This is the reason why he did this, she did this to you. You can go through all of that, but you still need time on your side in order for you to kind of accept the hardship, the hurt, and the emotional experience that you've gone through.
Yeah.
But I think I really firmly believe time is on your side, because as time goes by, God is also working alongside you in understanding while you're experiencing the hardship that you might be going through.
But we have had an instance where that was happening, and then a lot more was happening. And by the time he wanted to come and fix things, it was
Too late.
too late. She was not.
She-
She was checked out, so they did end up.
Well, only because you can't say I'm going to fix this, and then you're going to then double down and do it again.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Yeah, it
That-
kept repeating itself.
yeah, that's different that we're talking
So
about.
they
it.
were not aligned.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
There was
Yeah.
no alignment there.
And that's what, Jesus said. Moses allowed divorce because of the hardness of your heart.
There you go. Hardness
Right.
of your heart.
And you refuse to make your heart pliable.
Right.
One of the things I have learned to live by, and I encourage others to live by, is I never quit until tomorrow. Always wait till tomorrow to quit.
Mm-hmm.
As you know, when you get to today, when you get to tomorrow, it's today.
Right.
So you got to wait on it again, right?
Right.
And what I mean by that is that time does help you get over the emotional shock of things, and to really maybe try to see from a different perspective, because it takes two to tango.
Right.
One may be showing out worse than the other. One may be, looking on the outside unrighteous and terrible, but the other person has got a role in that too.
Absolutely.
And to me, that's sometimes the hardest person to really help, when they think everything they've done is right because they haven't had another partner, they didn't get into sexual immorality, they haven't, betrayed.
Right.
But there,
We also have.
yeah,
a case
but
like
there is
that.
something. There is something in the way that your relationship was structured that gave somebody, your partner, some kind of out.
Right.
Now, and I'm not saying it's right,
Right.
and I'm not saying it was good. I'm just saying that it takes two.
takes two.
Two.
Absolutely.
That's right.
And so when you get into those situations that seem unfixable,
Mm-hmm.
let's go. Look, I can't do anything about Johnny, but Mary, have a seat. Let's talk. Tell me about what's your part in this? I'm totally innocent. I didn't do anything.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's true.
And here's what you talked about pride a few minutes ago, but where there is defensiveness, pride is not lacking.
Right. That's
And
a,
that's a
great,
proverb,
great
right?
statement.
And
Great,
so
yes.
when you get this terribly defensive, there's a pride there that has to be dealt with. Wow.
Yeah.
Let's turn the subject just a little bit. You guys are working. Is it okay for me to talk about what you're working on currently?
Absolutely.
You guys are working on a relationship app, an application for your iPhone, for your computer.
It's a hybrid.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a concierge matchmaking service that we're working on, and to help out people who claim, or not claim, that's the wrong word, people who are really ready for the next step, meaning this to be in a serious, committed relationship, but more specifically, Christ-centered relationships.
That's it.
Yes, that's what we're working on.
So how is it going to be different from the hundreds that are already out there?
So the hundreds that are already out there, they're great. They're great service that may be out there. And again, it's counting on the premise of who you are, what you want to be, or who are you looking for, and let the algorithm process kind of put those together and match you up.
Mm-hmm.
We're also doing that, but in addition to that, I think it's a very important aspect is challenge someone about certain beliefs or principles they may have, or what they may be looking for. If that's really they're being true to themselves as far as who they're looking for, and how we can accomplish that is through interviews, and so we're adding an element to that by having them fill out a questionnaire so that the system can obviously work on those questionnaires, as we call it, algorithm, process, and match those people up. But in addition to that, after you're matched up, we will then vet you. And if there are any questionable responses from your questionnaire, we will interview you and ask you further to deep dive and whether or not those are something that may be a concern. That really we are committed to helping you have a successful end, successful relationship. That is really what we're after. Did I miss
And
it?
also highly vetted.
And highly vetted.
Highly vetted.
Yeah.
We will vet every applicant to ensure they are who they say they are, to ensure that they're not a criminal or they're not a scammer, and that they exist. And
When you say concierge,
yes.
that has the image of staying in a nice hotel where you say, hey, where's a good place to go out and eat, or where's a good place what museum, or can you get tickets for this theater? That's, to me, is a concierge. So what do you mean by concierge?
Yeah, thanks for asking that, Pastor Joe. Meaning we're adding a really important dimension in having a personal touch to it. We humans, we have a lot of needs, but more often than not, we don't express those needs. And we've talked about some of those needs. In other words, guiding someone about their potential mate may not be really what they're looking for. So based on their response, I was talking to somebody, I interviewed someone the other day. She's been married 3 times, for instance. And she said she did not complete her questionnaire because she felt like our matchmaking service is geared towards Christian people, religious people, she said. And I said, could you define what you mean by religious and Christian like? I said, you believe in God, don't you? And she told me, oh, absolutely, I believe in God. So if you believe in God, do you even know what it means to not only be committed to your mate of your future, but what it means to be Christ-centered in your marriage? Do you even know what that means? She had no idea, which I was amazed that she didn't know what that means. So I began to explain to her, basically what we already touched on is, what does that mean in a relationship? Where does God belong in your relationship, which we touched on. And that's something that we really, really put importance on in this particular matchmaking service, is that we must apply that and educate and guide people. How do you do that in a relationship?
Mm-hmm. And there's also, what demographic are you trying to hit? Who is this aimed at to help?
You're nodding at me. This is aimed for.
It started off because we have a lot of friends that are.
That's what I wanted to hear.
In their later stages that are still hopeful for love, and they know that God has their mate somewhere out there.
40s, 50s,
50s, 60s. Yeah. So, but what they are afraid of is they are not trusting these applications that are already existing, because they are not vetting the applicants. They've been scammed. They've been asked to send money, wire money. They have a criminal past or what have you. So that they're very hesitant to give love a chance, because they have been burned through these other applications in the past. So I think that's where we are different, because we're going to vet and ensure that they do exist, that they are who they say they are, and that they do meet the requirements, so that it is a safe space with guidance.
Yes, and we're just not going to match you up based on what the system says, that you are perfect in compatibility patterns. I mean, there is a dynamic, there is a counseling element to it as well, because we will have someone we will have a counselor on staff in the future. But also our questionnaires are based off of mostly, right, behavioral patterns that you may not even know you're answering. And we will be able to analyze, evaluate all of that in one, right? And so as far as the target for the candidates or pool of candidates who may be able to qualify for this, really it's really open to, I think we had limited it from 35 to 70-year-olds, which we find that most people, whether you've been married once or twice or never been married, for whatever reason, you have that clear mindset of, I'm going to find, again, going back to that statement earlier, Pastor Joe, I'm going to find Mr. and Mrs. Right through this app. Well, you will, but I think you're going to need guidance on how to do that, just like we did in the way we sort of met, but at the same time, we kind of learned from trial and error, because we didn't have this. I mean, didn't you wish that we had something like this?
Yeah.
Mentorship, some kind of support. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it would have saved us years of, just working it out.
Yeah.
And trying to figure out.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think that's important, right? Is to, if you can limit that. And look, we're always working it out, right? I mean, because by the time you get to a place where you're both aligned and feeling good about the relationship, one or the other party changes.
Something else happens.
Yeah, kids grow up and leave.
Right.
Your relationship dissolves.
Correct.
There's lots of things that can happen along the way that you need to be able to pivot.
And it's important, and you ask about the other sides. Why is it different? I mean, the other sides really gives you the flexibility of, all right, you can date person A, go on a date, and if you're not happy with person A, you can swipe left or right.
Yeah.
And go on another date. So that, to me, in my mind, that's really giving you options that are almost endless.
Very disposable world.
Disposable world. And so, and I think in today's world, it's just because we have online and it's just the way we operate nowadays, it's so easy to just give up.
Yeah.
And what we're saying is that doesn't exist in real marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And so, if you get married, what makes you think you're not going to feel that? Because again, you use the word feel, that you can easily get a divorce and go to the next person and the next person and the next person. Right. And so we want to make sure from the very stage of that process that we are really making that point that it is so important to be careful analyzing and evaluating this process.
Yeah. So just going back, while we talked about the app, 2 sentences, 1 sentence. Tell me what it is and why it's important. We are developing an app. What is it and why is it important?
She's always pointing out to me. I thought she has something to say. We're developing the app because I think in today's world, a lot of relationships could be misguided. And I think Lety and I feel strongly in building tangible relationships through the eyes of God. And I think there's really not many matchmaking or dating apps out there that are available with that concept. I think that's really missing.
Yeah. Christ-centered.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Life and a Christ-centered relationship.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, fantastic. Well, let's leave it right there. What's the name of the app?
The name of the app is...
I know you have been back and forth about it.
Yeah, we've had numerous different...
Drum roll.
Yeah.
Drum roll. I think we will hold off on that, Pastor Joe, for now, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah. And when do you think it'll launch?
So right now we are targeting, my user experience is right around the corner. She knows the date. Kudos to Zoe. She's doing a great job with this app. or it's really not an app. It's really a matchmaking service because it's an app and a website and along the lines of concierge service, if you know what I mean. But anyway, we're targeting Valentine's Day of 2027. But my technology team just really challenged me earlier today by saying, I think we want to be able to launch this in September, October, because then we'll be able to roll out a lot of the important things that need to happen after that, such as marketing and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And so, but Valentine's Day 2027 is the target date for it.
Right around the corner. That's less than a year.
Less than a year from now.
Yeah. Well, wish you the best of luck and pray that God will use it in a powerful way. Hey, thank you for joining me with this podcast. We're so good much friends. We love you guys. And
we love you
I love
too.
you and just so excited. You guys are, I've been pastor for a long time, and you guys are the easiest people to pastor nearly in the church. I mean,
you're very kind.
You're self-correcting, which is really a great thing to be. And secondly, I've never met anybody that's has the ability to get people to come and be a part of a church. I mean, you guys, everybody you meet, you invite them to church. You bring them to church. You invite them to your small group. I wish more people were like that. And so kudos to you. Thank God for you guys being at Trinity Church.
Thank you so much, Pastor.
We're thankful to be here.
Yeah, I'm glad you're here. And I want to thank all of you for joining us today for this episode of The God Seekers. If this is the kind of content that you like, boy, I'd love it if you take just a moment and check like and maybe even subscribe to this channel. We'd love to have you as our regular viewer. And so until the time we get together again, please keep seeking God, and God bless you.